Okay, all right. So sorry about not having any background things for everybody today. For like sound or anything like that. Give me 1 second here. I want to switch this over to boom live. All right. And look, we were actually using the fucking MacBook. I mean, last night, yes, technically we were using the MacBook, but we had to go like live directly to the browser. Today we don't have to do that. That is going to be a huge, huge benefit for today. But I'm going to try to maintain on both of the chats as well. I also apologize last night. Again, it's like one of those things where once I get home, if I'm doing a stream late at night or even like I know late at night, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, anything like that, even 11. Granted, I think it was like 11 when we went live because I was fucking fighting with the internet again, constantly trying to get the MacBook just to go live in order to do the stream. And it was like, no, you're not going to have the stream go live. And I'm like, dude, I just need it to go live through the MacBook so we can do all this. And it just wasn't wanting to work. So I was like, okay, this is starting to get really fucking annoying. Like, why is this happening? And then it dawned on me. It was like, hey, dumbass, just try and see if you can go live right through the actual browser and see if that works. And I was like, shit, that's actually a decent idea. So I legitimately did that exact thing. And it's funny, look at this. We got one of these bots that just did that in Kick. And normally I wouldn't ever like mention the bots. I hate giving them like any like time of day while you're talking, like during the stream and stuff like that. But Chris Langa literally had just did a post that I just tweeted out to him and responded to it just a moment ago. Funny enough, he was asking about how like the bots coming in through his stream. He was like, "Dude, is this something normal now on Kick? Like, I don't remember this happening all in the early days of Kick." It's like, no, no, but it happens now like all the time. And if you have a lengthier stream, it's going to happen a lot more. So I did tell him about that because I thought it's kind of funny that literally we were just talking about that, and here comes a fucking bot over on Kick, and it's like, hey, and it's just like, dude, get the fuck out of here, get out of here. It's one of those stupid things. But yeah, so literally the last few times we try to go live, I've tried to go live on the MacBook, just using the actual how do I put it, the trying to actually just use the actual OBS to Rumble Studio. And for those wondering, I am using actually the iPhone here as my microphone. Hence why, as you guys can see, hence why I'm holding it like this, so I can talk right into the microphone portion of it, because they don't do that top one anymore on these newer ones. I've noticed that there is no dot or a hole on the top now, other than maybe this guy up in the front. I guess maybe that would work too if I do it right here. But I don't know. It's more, I feel like, normal for me to do it like this, just to hold it down at the bottom microphone. So that's why I'm doing it this way. So for anybody wondering why the hell I'm holding my phone in such a weird fashion. So I wanted to kind of go over like a summary portion video of the whatchamacallit here, the Islam video that we did with Jay Smith. That was the what is this, Calvary Chino Hills? Yeah, Calvary Chapel Chino Hills church that did this on YouTube. We got 150K subscribers. I dropped him a sub. I gladly would appreciate if you guys could drop him a sub as well. Let me get the link for this video, which can also give you the link to their channel as well. This is going to be posted here first. Do it that way. So yeah, it never lets me post it like that. So dumb. Okay, it's gonna pin it in the chat over here for a second, but why is it doing it like that? It's so weird. Okay, so it's not gonna let me do it this way, so we're just gonna do it that way, and just gonna try to open up a new tab. Window, we're gonna go mute this tab. Channel. Paste. Okay, perfect. So I'm also gonna pause the stream video here. I'm gonna drop the quality on that, so it just saves on some bandwidth. Also gonna pause the Rumble video on my side over here, so that way again saving some bandwidth here. Drop the quality as well. It's on auto, so I can't drop it. Okay, okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to try to see if we can try to do that here, chat. But yeah, no. Also, it was like I was saying, there, Madre. When you were asking how the day was, it was funny. Like right as I was about to switch over, I had these two blonde girls come in, and they're like, "Oh, do you have any disposables and stuff like that?" And I just wanted to be like, "Oh gosh." So I was like, "Okay, deal with it." And then of course, they're like, "Oh, you don't have any geek bars," and I tried to explain to them the whole thing about geek bars and everything going on with that. And they were like, "Oh, cool, thank you so much." Da, da, da. And then as they were like grabbing their vapes, or the one girl was grabbing her vape. She wanted to argue with me about like what brand, and she's like, "Well, what about this one? And like, why don't I just buy this one instead?" After I just recommended it, the other one to her, and she was all like, "I'm like, well, those are auto fires." She's like, "Oh, well, never mind then." And then I tried to explain to her, I'm like, "Yeah, within $5 difference, you're gonna get a thing that's one better because of the fumies. They last longer, all that stuff like that. But they're using the Geek Bar Eternals. Ideally, like when FDA seized them all, like pretty much Fumi just pretty much bought all the Eternals. So it was like keep them over here, fill them up with Cloud Nerd juice, and bam, there you go. So that made them happy in the end. But I was literally just about to start up the thing as they were walking in, so that was kind of funny. But so again today, I mean, again, as you guys might have seen in the last few videos, I know the last couple nights that I've tried to go live, I keep passing out in the middle of my stream, so I'm so fucking tired by the end of the night. And also, I'm not gonna lie, when you're smoking a cigar and you've had a long day at work and you just want to chill and relax, it definitely, even like, I know people are gonna be like, "Dude, you work at a vape shop. How hard is your job?" Physically, it's not. Mentally, it's fucking draining because as a manager, I'm trying to do everything I can to make sure the store succeeds and benefits in any way that it can. So that's been a huge thing, and like legitimately, it seemed like we were gonna have like, this big, huge like turnaround, and then it just dropped. So it was super weird, right? So it's been mentally draining the last few days. So again, when I go live, guys, I do apologize. That's why I have like dozed off at times when I've gone live. I do truly apologize. It's just I'm literally, if you guys know, like I keep trying to like wake myself up, do whatever I can just to keep pushing myself. And then like last night, though, like not only was I having like bouts of just like literally like, okay, I'm getting a little bit tired here, but my fucking contacts, literally, I had to change them out last night. I don't know what the hell was wrong with them. Like I had to like rinse them off twice while they were in my eyes because like that felt like there was either like maybe a hair or something, or maybe they were torn, but it literally felt like someone was just pouring acid into my eyes as soon as they would open up into the light around me and stuff like that. And I was thinking maybe I should just turn off the light around in the room. But then I was like, well, then if I do that, is the MacBook going to be bright enough to illuminate my face and do all that stuff? So again, constant battle last night, and I do apologize for all that. And the whole dilemma of getting the stream going as it was last night. But going back to the whole premise though about why like the whole last few streams we've done the last few days, this has just been about the whole news coverage of all the stuff that's been going on since Charlie Kirk's death and assassination. Because legitimately, it's like we had, you go from like the down to the lows of all these people that were out here bragging about and celebrating his fucking death, and it was just just heart-wrenching to see. Like, wow, these are legitimate fucking demons out here. And then there was all the other stuff like that, especially with the whole Irina shit that had happened too. Like, she did not deserve to be murdered the way she was on the train. And there's just so much horrible negative stuff going on. And then at the same time, all of this is going on, I am seeing like Muslims and all this other shit like that using these like horrendous moments to then usurp and get themselves into positions where they can then utilize the fucking left, especially the extremist far left, to get them into these positions of power, or to allow for certain laws to be passed, or all these other things like that. And you start to just be like, what the fuck am I seeing here? Like, this isn't how you honor some of these people's lives, and it's sure as shit not how we fucking try to heal as a nation. And so it was really, really disheartening to see a lot of the stuff going on. But as that's going on, I start like, obviously, getting more in touch with my faith and praying more and all that stuff like that. One of the things, much like Charlie asked Jesus constantly and God to constantly do for him is work through him, right? And while I was asking God to do that, I was also asking God though to give me like actual, I would say, signs of like where should I take my portion of wanting to honor Charlie's memory and things like that towards him, especially with the whole honoring the faith and everything like that. And lo and behold, I would start to see a mass influx through my YouTube algorithm of all these like debunking, Islam, debunking this, proof that Muhammad didn't exist, proof that Mecca didn't exist. How's it going, Mook? Good to have you in here, fam. Good to have you in here. So it's been crazy to see, and it's like, and and for those wondering too, like, do I plan to still do gaming content? Yes, I do plan to still do a lot of gaming, hanging out, vibing with all my buddies, playing like Helldivers, things like that, Phasmophobia. I definitely want to get a group together to do some Phasma. I'd love to do some ghost hunting with some friends. Love to do some, Helldivers, dropping in, killing some bugs with everybody, robots, and the Illuminate. Love doing all that. It's a fun time, always a great time. But I definitely want to have a good chunk of my content also be, kind of more motivational and inspirational, and to help bring more people together, and to, also try to help give also other Christians and other people, not even so much as Christians, but also even some atheists, because one of the biggest issues is that I've seen this a lot with, especially like atheists and agnostics, right? That the Muslim, the far, far extremist Muslims will come in, see somebody like that, and be like, "Oh, let me show you how everything you believe just means that you should be a Muslim," and you're like, wow, that's really fucked up. And we're going to show you a video too, guys, from an ex-Muslim himself who converted to Christianity, which, praise him for that. That he's like, look, man, this is in Muslim, like, in Islam, they are trained to lie to you. Like if he's talking to somebody like a Jewish person, he'll explain to him that how, them being, Jewish, and the fucking, the Torah and all this stuff, that, it explains that they should actually be Muslim, and that they are actually Muslim, and da 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 da. And then once they become, converted into, Islam, then that person who's converted them will explain to them all the fucking ins and outs and how they lied to them to get them to become a Muslim. But then, of course, there's the fear of, well, if you leave, you get beheaded. All this other stuff. There's so much stuff that happens that causes them a lot of times to be afraid to leave. And then you have them calling Christians, these people that use fear to control people with hell and stuff like that. You realize hell is mentioned more in the Quran than it is in the Bible, right? Just a little fun fact on that one. So it's like when you got a lot of this hypocrisy, or you have these like actual lies that have been told and propped up, it's like, how can people literally join a faith, right, and believe in something where your prophet, supposedly, if he was real, took an 8-year-old girl and wedded her by the time she was 9. Okay, and for any of those would be like, whoa, that seems a little fucked up. I don't think that's true. It's literally in the Quran that it says that that the prophet had taken her to wed, and that she was playing with dolls, which is idolatry in Quran, or in Muslim faith, in the Islamic faith. That they're like, you can't do that. Only children are allowed to play with dolls and stuff like that. So that would mean that she's a child. Okay. So that's not okay, dude. Like, that's really fucked up. And then, like the ex-Muslim said, he goes, when I'm 16 and I feel like I have more higher morality than the prophet did, he goes, I realize at this point something must be wrong. And that's amazing for him to be able to do that at 16 years old, when he was younger, to, you see this morality difference and be like, that's not okay. I should not be choosing this. I need to choose the right. And so he does. He becomes a Christian. And again, praise him for that. That's amazing. And he exposes a lot of this stuff. But then again, like I've been trying to show a lot of this stuff on this video here, the 2 new findings that Muhammad didn't exist by Dr. J. Smith, are just really great videos that he actually did to try to help expose more of this stuff that's going on. Especially when it comes to the simple fact that you have, you have people who are trying to be like, oh, let me, show you the divinity of Muhammad, or that there's more evidence in history that Muhammad existed than Jesus, and it's like, that's just not true. It's physically just not true. But you got Muslims that are going to argue this point, through and through, because that's just what they believe, and I want, again, for us to be able to not go after, any Muslim or anything like that, right? I want us to try to help convert these people. I do believe, though, a high majority of them are just, set in their ways. They're just going to believe what they believe in, and that's fine. But if we can at least destroy the actual, then, theology itself, so that it does not have power to take root and destroy more lives or to destroy countries and nations. I mean, look what's going on with England right now. And I got the interview with Sahar that did that with Tommy Robinson, because I know the Tyler Oliveira one is locked behind a Patreon, and I just don't like that. Like, I do like Tyler's content, by the way. Yo, what's up, Fox? Good to have you in here, fam. Glad to have you, Mook, and the Madre over here on Rumble. Glad to have you guys all over here. Appreciate you very much. But it's one of those things where, you know, I want to be able to see that interview that Tyler did with him, but I don't want to pay just to see an interview like that. I think that's kind of lame that he locks it behind his Patreon. But I will say, though, Sahar TV does an amazing one with that too. So that is great too. So just got from a date with your girlfriend. Very nice there, Fox. Glad to hear that, man. Hope you had a wonderful date with her. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. But again, you know, I want everybody to understand that, you know, that obviously when we're dealing with a lot of this stuff, you know, especially with confronting Islamic extremists and stuff like that, one of the best things we can do is use not just apologetics, which is the defensive stuff of Christianity, but polemics, which are going on the attack and trying to actually disprove their shit, right? And again, the way I like how he explains it is like it's like a footstool. You got three legs of it, you know, the man, the place, and the book, right? And if either one of these things is not true, then the other one isn't true, and then it all falls on its face. And one of the best things that he explains is that, you know, Islamists believe that, you know, Muhammad had to come from Mecca. Okay, so if right off the bat, right there, if you can just disprove Muhammad, or that he didn't even come from Mecca, and that or Mecca didn't exist, well then guess what? You've already disproven the entire fucking Quran. And then that's when they start to really scramble, and they'll go for the third, be like, well, but the book itself, okay, but the book wasn't, and you know, actually really, you know, fully, you know, developed, you know, as the Quran until like very late, I want to say like 8th or 9th century, which is way after Muhammad's death, supposedly, if he even existed, which was like in 632 or something shit like that. So again, very crazy to think about that. Very crazy to think about how people will believe in some type of religion that doesn't really exist like that. You know, it's just absolutely nuts. We did have a coffee and shopping together. Now I'm home. Nice, very nice. What kind of coffee did you guys have today? I ain't gonna lie too. You know, it's kind of funny. I normally don't do like flavored coffees, but I went to Dutch Bros with my little sister last week, and we ended up grabbing the what is it, the cookie toffee butter one or something like that. Oh, absolutely amazing, dude! It was super amazing. Love the shit out of that one. And I'm not usually a fan of Dutch Bros coffee because it tends to be a little bit too bitter. And I don't like doing pumpkin spice things for fall because it ends up being like too heavily overly pumpkin a lot of times. So like there was a pumpkin latte that they had there, and then I saw the cookie toffee butter one, and I was like, let's get that one. And my sister and I got it both double blended from Dutch Bros. I gotta say, chat, ooh, that shit was so good, man, so good. Definitely go and stop by and grab one of those if you can. So, you got Starbucks. I mean, I can't knock it. I'm not a fan of Starbucks. I try to avoid using them if I can, but I do get it. I do get it. Starbucks, but you got strawberry acai lemonade, and she had a mocha latte. Nice, very nice. I just don't like Starbucks just because the big, you know, the big overtly, you know, corporate shill of a coffee, you know, company that they become. You know, I mean, granted, yes, I like my Dunkin' Donuts, but Dunkin's coffee, in my opinion, still tastes way better than Starbucks coffee. You know, I love Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I'm also a fan of like Thomas Hammer coffee and stuff like that. But you know, I know a lot of people like complain and said like Horton's now is no longer as good as it used to be because they use the Starbucks machines. But I mean, what are you gonna do when like literally Starbucks owns the actual company that they get all the machines for doing all that stuff? And again, too, for those wondering, I am holding my phone because it is my microphone right now. Because I wanted to use this so that way when I play the videos on the laptop or on the MacBook, they wouldn't bleed over too much into the microphone, which is why I'm doing that. Give me 1 second here. Cheers, everybody. I had to grab a Mountain Dew today, thankfully. A customer came in today and dropped a tip for me, so I was like, oh my goodness, thank you, you saved my day. So I got some caffeine, so whew, it was so good. Yo, Choles, appreciate you, fam. Appreciate you. Welcome in, welcome in. So we're not gonna go through the whole video, like through the whole 2 hour video that it is. What I'm just gonna do is I want to go over to a couple sections, maybe like a couple minutes of each section. But what I want is for everybody to kind of get the understanding of, what are the actual, nuances of this argument. And then we're going to watch the ex-Muslim one. Let me put these actually in order like this too. So this is the ex-Muslim one with Sahar. I have it to the point where the actual interview starts versus just the coming up stuff. I always hate when people do that. I get why they do that. They encourage people to stay and watch the video. But I hate doing that because then it's like, oh man, it might be some of the best parts of the video and I don't want that revealed yet, because and sometimes also how they do it, they might sometimes I've seen how like when it goes coming up in like the scenes, the way they kind of like will play off of each other sometimes feels like that's like a back-to-back thing. And then you're like, oh wait, that was actually taken out of context. Like I don't like that. I don't like that. So but we have that one, and then we have the left-wing terrorism, the greatest threat to our nation. I really do think that this needs to be watched by more people. Benny Johnson did an amazing job with this video. And again, as we go through these videos, chat, I will be linking the channels or the video itself in the chats. So if I'm linking the entire channel, it's because I think that the person overall deserves the subscription, and it does, obviously the video needs to be watched, obviously itself as well. But I want to promote their entirety of their catalog, not just that specific video. Like in this case, I linked earlier just this one in the chat. If anybody wants me to, I can also relink it, or anybody else in the chat. If you see the link, you can relink it and post it in the chat for other people as well. But this one is because, like, while yes, I subscribe to the Calvary Chapel Chino Hills YouTube channel, I don't want to push that onto people. Again, well, yes, I might be a Christian. Maybe we have other Christians in the, the video or on the stream watching and stuff like that. But you may be of a different denomination than myself, or other people, or even the Protestants that do this YouTube channel, which is a Protestant denomination that is doing this. So that is another reason why I do try to err on the kind of the side of reason when it's like, okay, hey, not everybody's going to be in the same faith. Even if you are a believer of Jesus, doesn't matter. There's so many different versions of Christianity that I don't want to step on hills and feel like I'm pushing people that they have to be ingesting maybe content that they don't normally want to watch overall, but maybe they do like that one video, like this video, out of all that. So that's why I'm linking just this video here. But when it comes to like Benny, I'm definitely going to be posting his whole channel. Same with Sahar. I really do like Sahar's content as well. I think actually what we'll do is we'll do this like this, because this also involves Islam as well. I think we'll do the left-wing one afterwards, just because it is definitely a really good, kind of like a PSA, as Benny calls it, public safety announcement. And then on top of that, you get to see kind of another perspective of this as well. He has Tim Pool on the video with this one, and he does ask Tim his thoughts on a lot of this stuff, and it's nice to kind of see the bouncing back and forth on some of the thoughts. And also, if you guys haven't seen Officer Tatum on his recent interview with Dave Smith and all of them over on Piers Morgan's Uncensored, honestly, go check that out. He really does knock, I feel like, Dave Smith's dick in the dirt, and really does make a point to show that Dave Smith is, while trying to still somewhat be a reasonable person, he's still coming from a very hard place of emotion, not logic. He's not thinking properly on these on some of these topics, and so it's really affecting the outcome of the debates that he's having with people. And I think that Dave could do better. I honestly do, and I'd love to see him do better. Truly, I would. But I honestly think that we're also seeing finally a lot of people wake up and be proud, especially if you were born here in America, or even if you came here legally, right? Legally, you came here to the country, then you're proud to be here, right? There's a reason and a semblance of that. And it's finally cool to do that again, right? I remember when I was a little kid, it used to be cool to be, patriotic and love America and all that other shit, especially after 9/11. Everybody loved being an American, but then it was the last few years, and I remember being as a teenager growing up and being pretty much indoctrinated by my teachers, outside of only one really who was constantly she was an ex-Marine that was you should be proud to be, an American. You should be patriotic. You should, want to, even if you don't want to go serve in the military, you should want to go serve in politics and things like that, because this way you are trying to help shape America truly. And then as a kid, I was always like, nah, man, anarchy, communism, because I was a fucking idiot. And most of my other teachers were constantly like, oh, we live in a dictatorship and we live in this, we live in that, and blah, 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 blah. And this is back even like with Bush, right? And then I had teachers that thought this with fucking, Obama, but they thought it was because, again, the anti-Semitic bullshit and everything like that would be going on at that time as well. And it's like, I had a lot of paths I could have ended up inadvertently going down because of my schooling, the people I was hanging out with, all that type of shit. And instead, I chose to be like, no, no, no. Like, I can see, why some people might think these things, but it's like, if you don't, have the full context, that's why they might think them. But if you really have the full context, it's like, you really can't see why people would think these certain things. So I couldn't get, like, on board with a lot of these people. And so, again, it's always been a hard thing too, when, I've always tried to think that I was supposed to, vote, Democrat or progressive in that mindset and all this other shit. And then constantly when I'd be having debates or talks with other people, even just discussions with other people on the left. And then I would say that I didn't agree with XYZ, but I agreed with, like, let's say like 97 or 90 or even 99% of everything else. That 1% fucked me. And they'd be like, oh, you don't agree with me? You're a Nazi. And I'm like, whoa, 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 what the fuck is going on here? So it's really definitely a really scary fucking thing to see. And the reason why I constantly have been bringing up the left whenever we talk about Islam is because I do want those on the left. Like, I'm willing to have you as be like our political opponent, all that stuff like that. I'm truly chill with that. But what I don't want, though, is for your side to be usurped by a much, much more nefarious side than just like the transgender shit. Like transgender shit, again, we can talk about that type of stuff. We can debate these things. These things are fine. I mean, to a degree, obviously, Charlie Kirk's fucking murderer, was a dude, as one of the guys eloquently put it, in a council member, was fucking another person, and he was more or less, fucking another dude, who was, a furry, and a tranny on top of that. So, kind of really playing into that whole fucking, stereotypes and all that shit a lot more. But, I don't agree with a lot of the shit that's gone on, with over on the left. And, so it's like, as time has gone on, I have definitely become more conservative. I've definitely, and it's so funny because as a millennial, a lot of us have, unfortunately, I feel like, become more, fucking liberal. And I look at a lot of the people in my generation and I'm like, you dumb motherfuckers, you bought into the lies that I was constantly just being like, I don't think this is true. You know what I mean? Like, there's always that moment when you're like, you're almost buying into something because you're being told it constantly, and you're being told if you don't accept it, you're the bad guy. So then there's that like fear that, okay, well, maybe, because then you're like, well, fuck, maybe I am the bad guy. You're like, shit. But how can I be the bad guy but change his way? You know what I mean? Like, you start being like, oh, how can I change? How can I make this be like a good thing, right? And then you're like, but I'm not the bad guy. Just because I believe in something different than somebody else, that doesn't make me the bad guy, okay? But you have fucking Islamic people, especially the extremist ones, going in and using the left to literally get their fucking selves into power. And then once they do, they sit back and laugh at you like, you fucking dumb idiots. We were just using you. That's the problem, okay? Like, again, I'm all down for, literally just having the good old-fashioned American battle of, politics and debate, verbally, right? With being like, okay, I believe on this, idea, you believe on this idea. Let's argue these things and see if we can come to a point of, of either swaying one to the other, or we come to a, agree to disagree type of statement, to a draw. And that's what I'd like to see happen, right? I don't want to see people on the left get used by people who would just instantly murder all of us as soon as they get their ways. And if you don't really think that I'm being honest about that, when you look at this fucking interview, there's a point in this Tommy Robinson interview chat that it really hit home. And it's not even joking. it's at the end of this. It's this part right here, where you ever offered money to stop. The story about this is insane. Okay, and this is all factual stuff that you can Google, look up, everything like this. So when you start to look at how much of this stuff is actually all connected, it's insane, right? Because the whole thing about the whole Islamic piece, that he has on that part with it being part of the left is that you had a guy over there who pretty much asked him, let's do a meeting, let's do this thing, and let's use race tensions so that way you can walk off and be, not really the bad guy, but not necessarily the good guy, but I'll come in and do this and I'll be the hero and all this other shit like that, blah, 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 blah. Well, once Tommy helped get him out of office and all this other stuff like that, they found some of his secret journals. And again, I'm just kind of like I'm skimming over the bullet points here, but the most important part to take from this was that this motherfucker wasn't just trying to do this to get himself a political point or a political party spot for the left. No. He was going to do this and then turn all of England, or specifically a specific district, I think it was Luton, all into a complete Muslim Sharia law area. That is what Tommy ended up actually inadvertently stopping. While he was trying to just stop the left from doing this crazy thing and trying to use his party against another party and do all this shit to try to make himself look like the good guy, but then has himself all the money he could ever want and a political friend in parliament. He was like, I don't think I want that. I think that there's, some things that aren't for sale, which is like my morals and values. And then Tommy tells him like, no, this isn't for sale for you, buddy. And then you know that when you find out later that this is what the guy was actually going to be planning to do, you're like, holy shit. And like he says, he's like, he didn't get no medal. He didn't get no award. He didn't get anything like that. He got sent to prison for what he did. What the shit, England? Like, again, like England is on the cusp of a full-on revolutionary war. And I truly pray that England will come out on top of all this. Because honestly, I am truly scared that England will not prevail. And look how close we are to the 5th of November. Like, man, what a time to be this close to it. And all this stuff that's happening, it's like things are boiling, dude. We are at a massive pressure cooker moment and things are about to explode and you can feel it in the air. So let's go ahead. Let's get into this. I want to cover over on the early topics of this stuff here.
To give an introduction, I need to give you a little bit of background as to who and why I'm even talking about this tonight. And to do that,
make sure you guys can hear this.
To London, 1992, when my wife and I were sent there to engage with the...
All right, can you guys hear this properly, right?
London has 1 million Muslims. In a city of 10 million, 1/10 of the population are Muslims. And they are some of the best Muslims you can get. Why? Because they come from 3 countries. India...
Okay, so I'm pausing my microphone when I need to come back in. But I'm trying to do this in a way so I can have it just low enough so it doesn't come through the microphone, but just so I can still hear it. I forgot my AirPods, so there is that as well. Also, let me do this too. Let me put the closed captioning on too. And then see here.
Muslims that came to that school, goodness sakes, they were my roommates, they were my classmates, and almost...
Okay, we're gonna make the video, my video, a little bit smaller, so this way you guys can see the video over there a lot better too. So.
That's what prepared me for what I'm doing today. Having grown up with those great Muslims.
My boy Mike's playing some Borderlands 4. I definitely need to get Borderlands 4 if I can at some point.
I left high school
I don't know if maybe a big goal.
I was fed up with all this huge amount of discussion and really aggravation from these Muslims. 33. Muhammad died in 632. Do you see a problem, folks? To a man named Ibn Hisham. There it is, right there. Ibn Hisham.
So here's another big part of it right here. Here's this good start to this
is the first
right here.
Who wrote down his biography, and he died in 833. 833. Muhammad died in 632. Do you see a problem, folks? There it is, right there.
Nearly 200 years apart.
When this guy finally writes it down, that's a 200-year gap. What happened? What happened in an intervening 200 years?
And this is again, how can somebody 200 years ago write about a person who supposedly existed and write their biography, right? And which gets it from another person who he doesn't even like all the stuff that he's getting from the other guy, and he only takes what he wants. That's another thing that you need to keep in mind about all this too.
And he said, Take a look at the Dome of the Rock. Probably the most famous building that's been built by a Muslim in the last
Yep, the Dome of the Rock.
100 years. The most beautiful building is right there in Jerusalem. Notice it has no Qibla, direction of prayer.
Yeah, it has no Qibla.
It has no Qibla. It should be facing Mecca, right? Every mosque or every...
Well, and the reason why it doesn't have that is because there is no Mecca.
This has no Qibla.
Like, oh, wow, Like, literally, how easy this thing can be debunked this quickly if you just look at certain, geographical things, too.
Little tidbits. Half the class were made up of Muslim students. And they started getting up, going to the door, slamming the door, turning towards Dr. Hadi and saying not very pleasant things to him, and they never came back. Within 2 weeks, we lost all of our Muslims. 2 weeks. 25 Muslims had left. Now, if you're
Yeah,
a professor
obviously
at a
not
university,
good
you
if
lose
you're
half your
teaching at a
class.
university and you have that many
What are you
students
gonna do
leave
for
because
your
they're,
career?
they're Muslim, and you're more or less teaching them
cannot
that
lose
their
your
religion
students.
is a lie.
So we
And
started
this is the
toning
whole
down
point of
and
it too, right? It's like, how do you teach them this thing without them just getting angry, slamming the door, saying hurtful things, and walking out, right? This is why I want you guys to understand this, because again, I myself am bad about this myself when it comes to these things, as you can see by my own Twitter feed, right? I'm very, very flagrant about just destroying Islam, and again, I've never been so fervent in my own faith, in my passion for the country and all this stuff, more so until, sadly enough, the loss of Charlie Kirk. And again, as I said in my video too, it should not have taken the loss of him for even myself to feel this way, for the rest of the country to feel the way it does, right? It should not constantly take us the loss of a great and an amazing human being for this type of shit to happen, for us to finally want to take action, to see change happen, right? And I'm so tired too, by the way, of people on the left being like, he wasn't a good person. Okay, so why wasn't he a good person? Well, he said things I didn't like. Oh, fucking well. Boo-hoo, cry me a fucking river, build a bridge, and get the fuck over it, dude. Seriously. You didn't like what he had to say? There's a lot of shit people say that I don't like. Who gives a fuck? Like, that doesn't make you a bad person. Like, and legitimately, half the shit that they'll come out and say, well, he said this. Okay, well, funny, because that's not what he said. You're missing the context, or you're actually taking it out completely, out of, out of proportion in general. Like, they'll say, like, he says this, and it's like, that's not what he said at all. In fact, actually, this is what he said. And they're like, well, it means the same thing. It's like, no, that doesn't. It's like, there's certain level of mental gymnastics that these motherfuckers will do that I'm baffled at. I'm truly baffled. I'm like, how can you believe some of the shit that you're spewing out of your mouth and think that it's okay, and then they go, well, he said far worse things. No, really, he didn't. And again, one of the biggest things that he really did so well that I could only dream about doing is touching the minds and hearts of the younger generation to be able to wake them up, to help them go on the better path so that they truly live a better, wholesome life, right? One of the biggest things, like he said, you could do, start a family, right? I see a lot of people like, Pegasus constantly gives like Hassan shit because he's in his 30s and, and he doesn't have a family and he doesn't have kids yet. It's like, dude, trust me. I understand how it is though for that, because like I'm in my 30s, right? And I have yet to find somebody that I can actually settle down with and have children with, right? Like with Shauna, that was always a constant thing we would talk about, debate with, and she would always come up with these things of why she was scared to have kids. And so a big part of me is just like, look, I want a partner who's going to be equal in all the things that we do. Like if I'm working my ass off, that partner is working her ass off, right? If they want to be a stay-at-home, wife and mother and all that other stuff like that, fine. I'm okay with still taking care of all the bills and all that stuff. All I ask is that I get help when I get home to keep the house clean and maintain it. That's all, right? That's the biggest thing that I hope for. And that if I'm streaming and all this other stuff like that, that they'll be there to support me in doing these things, right? They don't have to necessarily even be in the chat or whatever the case is, but just be supportive, in whatever way that they choose to find a way to be supportive, just in any way, right? That is the biggest thing, okay? So I do understand, like when Pegasus, I know he's just making a joke and stuff like that, but I do understand though, being in your 30s and not having a family like that, you will start to feel like a fucking failure when you start to look at people that are younger than you and they do have families going on and stuff like that. You will start, it will fuck with your head, man. It really will. And that's something that I've had to try to come to terms with, is just being like, again, maybe a family is in my books or not. We'll see. Who knows, right? But the whole point, though, is that at the end of the day, though, when you look at somebody like, fucking Hassan, yeah, he may be fucking failing, at that aspect of it, but he's also failing at a whole plethora of other things, like backing, Houthi terrorists and shit like that. I'm not out here doing that. Instead, I'm backing the actual U.S. Military and things like that instead, because in my opinion, the people that are protecting our nation and protecting us, that allow us to actually make it so we can actually go to bed safely in our beds here in America just fine, are not the fucking Houthi terrorists, Hamas, and fucking, all the rest of those dumb fucks. In fact, it's the U.S. military, and I thank them very much for doing things that I would never, ever be willing to fucking do. So I hats off to them. Mad respect to them. They are doing things that a lot of us are not willing to, actually stomach and go and do, So mad respect for them.
Toning down, and stop coming to conclusion and stop asking these questions. Well, I love these questions, and I saw the reaction of the students. I said, wait a minute. If the Dome of the Rock has no Qibla, then what does that mean, Dr. Hotting? And he wouldn't answer. He didn't want to answer because he didn't want to lose any more students. So I start taking this down to Speaker's Corner.
And you see what he says here too, right? He says he stops saying, 'cause he's losing all of his students, right? He stops pretty much giving that main question of like, why is there this if this doesn't exist, right? And again, it's like, this is the problem though. As soon as you start trying to question them with certain things, you got to do it in a way that you can try to, like the whole the saying, you catch more flies with honey than you do with venom. This is one of those aspects of it right here.
Putting it up there, and I got beat up. I mean, physically beat up. They knocked me out.
Throw this on the charger real quick.
I got one time there were 60 Muslims around kicking me. I went unconscious. I had no idea what happened. When the police finally pulled me out, they said a black man came and laid on top of me.
I already smoked my cigars
for
me.
I said, where is he? He had disappeared. I call him Barry, my black angel. I have a black angel, Barry. He saved my life twice now at Speaker's Corner in the 25 years I've been there. But I suddenly realized this material is potent. This is heavy material. If this is the only reactions Muslims have, is to beat you up or to walk out the door and slam the door and yell at you as you're walking out, if that is the only reaction they have, we got to learn this material.
Yes, I had the Monte Cristo Classic Toro.
That was in...
That was it. Like I said last night, that was one of my fathers. So this one I finished up today as well.
They said, we can't answer this, but there's a man who can. His name is Dr.
The Robusto Inspirio Black.
And they said, we want you
I'm going to do the buttery one, I think, tonight.
Dr. Badawi and myself. He is the world's leading authority on the Quran. He had done 400.
Got such good taste, though.
300 videotapes. These old boxes, these old VHSs. For those who are gray hair, remember the VHS boxes?
Like you can still taste the coffee and the cocoa. Even just like doing a dry pop off of this.
These videos just on the Quran. They said he's coming back from Malaysia. He's going to stop in London on his way back to Halifax in Canada. Would you be willing to debate him? Well, I hadn't done a debate before. We don't get trained up on how to do debates in seminary.
Definitely was an excellent cigar.
We're trained just to
I think this might be my favorite brand, the Macanudos, or how you say them.
Three things about that subject. Make sure you support
Macanudo, is how I'm going to say that. Macanudo.
Nothing about debating, nothing about getting confronting or people.
The Monte Cristo wasn't bad. The Monte Cristo was actually still good too. So
that we weren't taught in homiletics. So I said, okay, let me try it out. And so I went up to see a woman her name was Dr. Patricia Krone. Dr. Patricia Krone is the leading authority.
It's definitely a mild and mellow taste.
She is from Denmark. She reads and writes 15 archaic languages. How many of you can read and write 15 archaic languages?
Yeah, that is mad impressive for her. 15 archaic languages, man.
And these are languages that no one uses anymore.
Mad impressed.
Nabatean Aramaic, Syro-Aramaic, Akkadian. Amazing woman. She's a linguist. She studied there at the same school, School of Oriental African Studies, got her doctorate there, and became head of department at Oxford University when I got to know her. And when
summarize this part real quick. So he asks her, why don't, after she starts helping him get this whole thing formulated, he goes, why don't you teach it? And she goes, well, because I'm an atheist. I can't do it the way you can as a Christian, as a missionary can do this. So there's a lot of pertinence to that as well. And I love how she says that to him. But then as he's going through, he starts doing this thing where he, let's see, let's get to. All right, so he gets to the point where he starts getting, like, you know, so good at debating this stuff and with his group that nobody, like, since the initial thing that he came out with in 2023, nobody had started to come out and debate him about this and about, like, Muhammad and everything else like that until finally a Christian does. And the way he debunks this stuff is like, damn, that in itself should disprove so many Muslims that their religion is completely a farce, and that they should try to actually come to Jesus. Hell, I would accept them even if they go to Buddha or anybody else, but do not be a Muslim, because legitimately, you're then telling people that it is okay to stone and behead all these types of people, whether it be, fucking, women because they don't wear a fucking burqa, whether it be a gay guy, whether it be, somebody who's a non-Muslim, you want to behead them. There's so many, they left the religion. There's so many fucking things that when you look at it, you're like, okay, but if you leave Christianity, what happens? Nothing. A lot of times your family, yeah, okay, there's the old school things. You hear people, they got disowned, da-da-da-da. Look, that's not a whole, all right? There is a lot of people individually who go, I can't do that to my own son or daughter, right? If I had a kid, as Christian as I am, especially now, right? If my son or daughter came out and said, hey, I think I'm gay, my first thing isn't to be like, oh my gosh, I got to disown my kid. I got to, do all this stuff like that. I'm going to be like, cool, My first actual thought would be, especially if it's, it's a boy, well, fuck, I ain't gotta worry about a pregnancy scare then. So, I mean, granted, at the same time, obviously there's a lot of other things that will obviously go through somebody's mind, but there's a lot of other things like that. I definitely feel like that will definitely rush through a father's mind, like, oh, well, whew, type of deal. But at the same time, though, too, like, I don't, like, it's that point too, because I know somebody's gonna be like, well, if you're a Christian, wouldn't you want your kid to come out, hetero? Yes, totally. That's what God wants. That's what God, wills, everything like that. But if my kid comes out any other way, I'm not gonna disown my child, and I'm not gonna say that I don't love them or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing that I'm trying to come across here, is that just because, you're hoping that this is how it'll play out, that doesn't mean that if it doesn't, that you disown your kid. And a lot of times too, at that point, especially if your kid comes out, I'd tell them, like, especially if they're really, really young, I'd be like, hey, you don't know anything yet. Why don't you come talk to me back when you're, in your 20s, 30s, and things like that? Then we'll talk about it then, right? Because as a kid, you should be just focused on a couple things. Playing some sports if you like it, playing like, Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, Dungeons and Dragons, Magic, or hell, fucking, playing video games, going building sandcastles and shit, playing in trees, making fucking, mud pies in the rain and shit, digging holes in the backyard, like things like that, man. Like, you got so much more to worry about as a kid than to be worried about your fucking sexuality at like 8, 9, 10 years old, right? And as a teenager, dude, you need to be focused on your studies, right? Like, just be focused on getting out of junior high and high school. Like, if my kid wants to go to college, cool. If they don't want to go to college, great. Not gonna care either way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna support them either which way they go. If they don't want to go to college and they just want to start working their hard ass off like I did and stuff like that, cool, more power to you. But if they want to go get a career, doing something, whatever the case is, then yeah, I'm gonna support them. I'm gonna help them out whatever way I can, whether it be even like helping them with their homework and stuff like that, with doing like however way I can to help you with your studies. You help teach me a little bit, and then like we'll kind of work together, and see if we can do this understanding. And again, if you're there and involved in your kids' lives in a much deeper, meaningful way, then you don't have to worry about all those other things, because your kid is so much more worried about the actual important things in life. And then when they finally get out of school and high school and stuff like that, and they start dating and they go to college or whatever the case is, and they're starting to finally, figure themselves out, that's when they can start being like, am I straight? Am I gay? Am I bi? Whatever, right? I'm totally chill with my kid doing that. I will want to imprint onto my kid that it is more important to them throughout their childhood and teenage life years to just enjoy life, to enjoy all those other things, man, because legitimately, underage sex and all this other shit like that there's nothing fun with that. It is something that will absolutely ruin them mentally. And I've seen it from some of my own friends who got addicted to that shit when they were like, 14, 15 years old, and oftentimes, which is really weird when I think back to it now, like I was technically, one of those people who you could, have said that got raped by a 33-year-old woman back when I was 16, because again, it's that mental, thing that people do. Like, and I say you can say that, but most people will be like, no, you enjoy it. Like, I just watched a video earlier where a girl told Andrew Wilson that he didn't get raped or sexually assaulted in the same way that a woman does, because he at the end of the day would, there's a possibility that he can enjoy it. And then, like, right after that video, I see link again, like how God works, right? So how God works in such mysterious ways. Because right after that, I see the video clip, a short of the like woman that's been going really popular right now, Mila Joy, talking about the girl that tried to accuse Trump of rape, and then would come out and be like the whole thing of like, oh, she's actually into rape fantasies and stuff like that. And you're like, huh, well, why is that a thing? Why is that even a category, even in like in the porn industry and stuff like that? It's fucking disgusting. Like, this is how broken you got people down, and how depraved they are, and and just how surrounded we are by fucking legitimate demons, that we will think things like that are normal or okay. Like I was talking about the other day about, in literature, you got these types of books that are romance novels that women would like to read, that you'll go look them up. Like, and this is not even a joke. There's a video that Nux did, and I will do a review on this video that he did. But it expresses about the whole, like, the subgenre of like pedophilic writings. But the women are like, oh, it's okay though, because see, it's in literature, so there's no children harm. No, bitch, that's not okay. You are fucking your brain up. And a lot of the times, those books are being marketed to fucking girls as, young as in 6th grade. So no, you got, potentially 12, 13-year-old kids that are reading this shit on up, and it's like, that's not okay. And then they start to think it's okay, and then it starts fucking with their brain, and then so forth, so on. And it's because of the way it's written. It's like the whole idea of like, well, it's better than this because it's not, harming anybody. Oh, it's harming people, just in different ways. So again, words do have power. They do have meaning. Literature can still work. Again, and it pisses me because I saw fucking like peers talking about the whole ice shooter and like, oh, he played 6,000 hours of video games. And I really am starting to think video games are, bad for like, no, dude, like, you could argue that about, again, music, movies, all this other stuff like that. The Crusades happened, and guess what? There was no video games at that time. So how are you going to argue about that when they're peers? You know what I mean? Like, there's things that go on all around the world where people aren't playing video games or even have video games. But how do you answer that when they're peers? No, you don't got an answer for that one? Exactly. So it's like, dude, or the whole gun violence is like I say, again, guns don't commit the violence. It's the shitty, stupid fucking people. So again, you need better education. Letting somebody with a mental illness get a gun is not okay. Yes, the grandfather that had the Mauser, probably should have locked up his gun a lot better, than what he did, and probably didn't, think that teaching his, grandson, probably even if he did have it locked up, the combination two that's safe would inadvertently cause somebody else's their life. Because again, you don't want to think that of your family. But if your fucking family member comes out to you and starts saying some weird shit like he was doing, I would start reporting that kid to the fucking FBI instantly. If I have a kid and they start saying some really deranged and unhinged shit, my first thing is going to be, okay, I'm going to call the cops, and then I'm going to try to talk to them, get an idea of what they think I should do, and if they don't think they can handle it until, like, something else happens, then I'm going to make sure that I probably report this to the FBI as well, so this way they know to be on the lookout if my kid ends up doing something, and that way I don't have to then go and answer to the court system to be like, yeah, I totally saw the signs, but I did nothing. Because so many of those fucking families see the signs, they do nothing. Now, granted, everybody wants to say, well, yeah, but the dad helped turn them in. Yes, but the dad could have fucking stopped this beforehand. There are so many things that all these people could have done to stop these things before they happen. Yes, hindsight is 20/20, but let's use that hindsight to better enact rules, not necessarily even laws, like taking away guns, but stricter like, okay, if you own a gun, then you have to have XYZ type of safe. It has to have XYZ type of, biometric scanner on it. So this way, if you are trying to fucking, get a gun for protection, you don't have to worry about, well, my kid ends up scanning their fucking thumbprint and they got my gun out instead. No. Unless they chop your fucking thumb off and then use it, is that gonna happen? Or they knock you out and drag you to the cabinet and stuff like that. Again, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of these things that, like, damn, a lot of other shit you gotta do in order to get then into those type of cabinets. Well, again, people I'm sure are gonna be like, well, there's not such things. Like, yes, there are definitely biometric gun cabinets out there. I guarantee you. All right. I don't know the company off the top of my head, but I'm guaranteeing you, we live in a day and age of technology that somebody I'm sure has built a fucking biometric hand scanner type thing or eye scanner thing that works on your gun cabinet. So this way, nobody can just open up your fucking lock by just simply knowing a combination. Like, there are a lot of things that you can do that can be put in place to stop these things that, again, don't equal that the gun did anything. It's that, again, Tyler Robertson is a complete fucking idiot. And the fact that legitimately, somebody who goes, I'm going to hurt somebody because they're evil or because their things that they said have hurt my feelings. This is the world we live in. This is what I've been saying about we got to stop letting emotions dictate and run the world. It has got to be about facts, statistics, okay? These are the things that we need to be looking at, not being like, did it hurt somebody's feelings? Well, then you shouldn't say those words. I'm sorry, that's fucking retarded. Like, it's high time we stop doing that shit, man. It's literally costing people their lives.
Really taken me on.
Getting back into this.
Because how can you take me on? In order to take me on, you have to have evidence from the 7th century. As you can
From the
see,
7th century.
There is no evidence that supports that man, that book, or that place.
It supports that man, that book, or that place.
And then a man named
Again, that's the whole thing. The three legs of the stool, as he has it.
How many of you know who Raymond Ibrahim is? Okay, one.
I've only just recently started seeing videos by Raymond Ibrahim. And it's funny because after this video, I noticed that all of a sudden now he's doing the same thing that Jay Smith is doing about denouncing, trying to disprove Islam. But he doesn't like how Jay Smith goes about trying to disprove Islam. And I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, if you're trying to disprove Islam, should you just be happy that he's trying to help you out in the same goal, to help get more people to come to Christ, not be brought over to a shitbird like Muhammad, who takes 8-year-old girls to be his wife?
The weakest polemic we could ever use. The weakest polemic you can use.
Again, if he's a real person, which he wasn't. He's a made-up fucking fantasy. In my mind, too, the way I look at Muhammad, the collection of writings that they did for him are what these sick, depraved fucking demons or animals, whatever you want to call them, fucking wanted to do. Okay, so when it talks about how there was this little girl playing with dolls in front of the prophet, and then he makes her his wife, and it's because they want to secretly take fucking little girls to be their wives, because especially in their culture, it's all about that whole virgin bullshit, and it's just like, dude, why do you want to have virgins when you go into the afterlife? What is this whole bullshit thing? Like, what is this? What is this dumb shit? And it's like, it's one of the reasons why I love the opening to Postal, the movie, because it's all like, they make a joke about like, he's all like, don't admit that there's not as many virgins going around. Well, what the fuck? How is there this many? There's not this many now. There's too many, this going on, so there's not enough now for us. He's like, well, fuck this. Let's go to the Bahamas. So yeah, I love the opening joke to that. I do love that. As dark as the movie can be at times, in the opening scene to that, it is fucked up. But it's meant to be fucked up in a way for you to still laugh, kind of, to be like, oh man, like, what if? Type of deal, right? But again, it's because you have these people who are so hell-bent on being rewarded with such a fucking weird thing. And that, the other thing, too, which is something, Tommy Robertson explains it too. I can't remember who he said. There's a video that a YouTuber though that he was with though, that was helping him out with all this. And when they went to some of these camps, right, they found out that the way it works too in Islam, especially with a lot of these mercenaries, is what they pretty much call them, is that if you're willing to go and kill anybody in Israel, which meant anybody, right? You're right back. Okay, I am back, everybody. It is so funny too, because like I just had another person who, as I'm trying to like again help get them the best product that they can get for their money, because I'm not going to sell bad products or things I think that aren't going to last you the longest, aren't going to satisfy you the most, and I'm not that type of salesman. I'm not like one. I'm not based off commission. Two, I legitimately am not a used car salesman. I want to make sure that you're going to be satisfied when you leave here. So again, I just had that little like push and pull until the customer finally was like, okay, I'll go with the choice. And again, as soon as they do, instantly love it. And again, it's like the the Fumis are an amazing fucking product, honestly. Doing what they did with the whole Geek Bar internals, juices made here in America, things like that, it's smartest thing that they could have ever done, honestly. And I forgot my vape actually on the counter, so I gotta grab it. Because legitimately too, like the juice that they use for these guys made here in America is so much cleaner than any of the other juices I taste in any of the other vapes now. Like legitimately having used more of these that are like here in the States, and then like try to use one where is that at? I have another one in here in the store that, oh, it's over here. This guy. So whenever I hit this one now, I can actually taste that the juice is a little fucking weird. There's something in the juice that I don't like, right? As much as it tastes good at first, there's always this weird aftertaste. I'm just like, I don't like that it does that. And it's the same thing with any other vape that isn't made here in America. These guys, the juice is made here in America, so you hit it, it tastes good. It tastes like I'm vaping off of a regular device. So that's another big thing. Like when I literally do this, it tastes like lemon berry. It's got a nice lemon taste to it, with a nice kind of fruity, berry taste. Absolutely, blends together nicely, and I can taste both flavors really well. Whereas like 90% of the time, if something like that was in a regular other disposable, like this one just says, what is this one? Fruit stripe gum, right? So it's supposed to be like those zebra fruit stripe gums you can get back in the day, right? It's like there's more sugar in it. There's more like there's a lot of everything I feel like going on. And the flavor you can't decide what flavor's going on with that one. With this, again, two flavors. It tastes like, it kind of reminds me of like a sweet tart. A little bit like how sweet and tart it is. But again, I can taste the lemon, which is the tart, and then I taste the sweet, that's the berry. You see what I'm saying, chat? Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, you can still taste that shit properly how it's supposed to be because it's made here in America versus the ones that are made in China. Just saying. So, and again, too, to get back to this too, it is crazy to see how many people I've noticed over time that have been trying to argue with me about the fact that Muhammad existed, and I'm like, he didn't exist. And when you see the writing that they'll try to say means Muhammad. Now, again, I am not fluent in Arabic, right? Back when I was in fourth and fifth grade, not even joking, they did teach us some Persian here. And my teacher's name was Mrs. Asefi. Okay, not even joking. That was her name. And she was a French Arab. And she told me, along with the rest of our class, when we were in fourth grade, which was 1 year, okay, 2002, after 9/11, that we might, potentially need to know this, Persian, in case we got drafted ever. Then we had to explain to her as children that our country doesn't have the draft and why it doesn't have the draft. And then she then says, but what if they reinstated it? That made me and three friends start being like, we don't trust this teacher. So we legitimately would do everything we could to just disobey everything that she ever asked us to do. Finally, the school forced her to stop teaching Persian because she was originally teaching Spanish to us, right? So they expected her to go back to Spanish. No. You know what this bitch decides to do? She's going to teach us French in fourth fucking grade. Like, Dude, do you realize how little of the population, especially over here in the Pacific Northwest, speaks fucking French? Like, I'm going to give you an astounding of that much. Okay? I think I might know two people in my 33 years that I've ever lived who speak French. Okay? A customer that comes in and my old bitch ass teacher. That's it. I have a customer that comes in who's French. And so sometimes, like him and I will talk and conversate, and he'll like help me kind of like polish some of my French here and there once in a while, right? But I haven't seen him in so long, so I haven't done it in so long, so it's like it's been a very hot minute since I've tried to continue my French dialogue and stuff like that, and and try to actually get better at it. And there was even a point too. He even asked me, he's like, "Why even bother?" He goes, I try to make sure that I learn English better, and I'm trying to like speak it better and all this other shit, because it's predominantly the language spoken here in America. And even when he goes back home now, because he doesn't live in uh, Quebec, he lives in British Columbia. He's like, I don't have a lot of French speaking Canadians that I know. When I go home, he goes, I actually, outside of like his mother and his father. So he goes, so even his wife is a British speaking Canadian, so, or English speaking Canadian. So he's like, so again, he goes, I'm more accustomed to you speaking English. So he always found it funny that I would try to sometimes, polish up my French and stuff like that when he would come in. And just the fact that he like literally was like, yeah, fuck that. He's like, French is, he made the joke that French is stupid. Uh, he said, he goes, it sounds pretty and all to some people. He goes, but in reality, he goes, it's just as, dumb sounding in his mind, he said, as Arabic. And I was like, wow, that's kind of mean and racist. He goes, trust me. He goes, it's pretty common for, like people who are French to say that they don't like their language. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, it's not really like our favorite thing. And I'm like, okay. And because most of the French people I had met online, they all are like, very patriotic about their culture, country, and they're definitely their language and shit. So I just found it funny that he is definitely like, nah, man, fuck that. Apparently most of the people he's ever grown up around with are just like, nope, we hate our language. I'm like, again, it's kind of weird and foreign to me because like that would be like me saying I hate English, like that would be like me going and studying another language and loving it so much that I would no longer want to speak my own mother language, and that's what he's pretty much stated, that he doesn't like speaking his own mother language anymore. Like even when he speaks to his parents, they'll speak French a lot of times, and he'll be like, "No, speak English," and I'm like, "Wow." He's like, "Yeah, I don't like it." I'm like, "Holy shit, dude!" So yeah, I always found that funny.
I'm going to take the 10 accusations, and he gave 10 accusations. And if you're watching, Raymond Haberman, thank you for doing this, because finally I have an academic who's actually.
And I also like how he does it. He says, I thank you for doing this, because at least it gave him somebody to debate and everything like that on the topics, and that he was looking forward to this debate. And again, this is what I mean. This is why open dialogue is so important for our culture.
Supported people in history, so you cannot say he didn't exist because there's so much historical support for him. Number two, in fact, Muhammad has more historical support for him than Jesus has. Ooh, Ooh, I love that. Number three,
yeah, I'm sorry, that one's
Muhammad
bullshit.
did not exist. How can you explain the Sunni-Shiite divide? The Sunnis who are confronting the Shiites from Iran and Iraq.
And again, for some of you that maybe have forgotten, with the last time I played this video when we were talking about this, when I was trying to give some of the background story, because people were, I actually had people afterwards talk to me about this. They're like, so, again, explain to me how, way back in that time, then there weren't Muslims, and what were they called and what would they have been known as? I'm like, well, they had various names. One of the names would be, Ishmaelites, because they came from the son Ishmael, primarily, and the mother Hagar. So that's where they, attribute a lot of all that to. Then on top of that, you have, the other name that was very, very popular at the time would have been like Saracens or Saracens, is how he pronounced it, Saracens. I pronounce it Saracens, which is, it's Saracens. And now a lot of the names that they actually would adopt, and he kind of goes over this, I do believe in another video that he went over with somebody else, but the names that they adopt actually like either mean like the sons of Hagar or those from Hagar, excuse me, and stuff like that, because they're all pretty much saying that they all come from her, right? So this is why you have so many of them saying the things that they do, when it comes to the names that they have. But it wouldn't be until around, I want to say he said around like 735, maybe it was like kind of said around there, but more so around like 800 to 900 era. Do you start to hear people use the term Muslim for the actual Ishmaelites and stuff like that? Because at that point, that's when the Quran is starting to kind of finally start to come together. Now, mind you, that the whole lie and story is that it was already came together and built and da 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 by like 630 something, right? Well, that's not the case. So it's like legitimately, he's had done this and he's doing all this crap, uh, and it's like it's not until really like around like I think they like he said like around like 1400 or so when like the book is like 100%, maybe like it might be even 1100, might be a little bit earlier than that, might be 1100, but still between 1100 to 1400 AD is when you start to see the actual like Quran be the Quran that we know today, right? And that even the ones that you got to think about this too, right? They claim that their fucking that their word was so important that unlike the Christians and a lot of the Jews at the time that lived in those areas, which would have used papyrus and papyri for all their stuff, instead they would have used animal skin because they were so rich. Especially if you look at the area where all this was at, they were really really rich, and all of their stuff that they have documentations of in those areas for their culture are all written on animal skins. So why wasn't the Quran on one of these animal skins that they've ever found? Oh, it's not. Oh well, fun fact. That means it's not fucking ancient. It's not from that time. And when people go, well, what about Jesus? Okay, we have writings that go back to as close as 30 years after he was, around. So, and then we would probably have more, and even closer to that if they were written on animal skins at that point. They would be around forever at that point. But instead, we have the problem of them being on papyri, and that's why we do have ones that they think are literally up to that point, but they're so old that if they were to open them up, they would be destroyed. So now they're using, LiDAR to literally digitally map these actual papyries without having to open up the scrolls and actually look at them and destroy them. So that is another reason why we have lots of physical historical proof that goes back to Jesus's time. We have things that actually show all of this, versus it being like, oh, well, we made up this story and then, we said it was written on fucking animal skins, but the only problem is the only things we've ever found were written on papyrus. Okay? The problem is with the whole fucking Quran thing is that nobody finds these animal skins or anything like that. In fact, the closest they would get to would be the one with the Aryan priest, I do believe. The one Aryan priest that was there at the time, and he had 4 books that he would have been carrying with him, and they were different books, but they all would have made up the different surahs of the Quran. However, though, the problem being is that obviously, where is these books? Where are these animal skins? All this other stuff like that. And thirdly, a really more important question is, why is it that they would do all these things? That question of like, well, why, if it's all fake, why would you do this? Because if you come from the brother line of Ishmael, you have an unprophetic line, which means that you don't have a claim to anything holy, right? You have these material claims, but you don't have a line that says, I will make you as numbers as the stars, and I will do all these great things for you, and that your people are blessed, and that I love your people, right? God doesn't say that to Ishmael and all them, right? So they then go, how do we create our own, ideally, like their own version of what we have? Well, then they go ahead and they do exactly that. They create it by taking our stories, but changing the things. So that's how this has all been, kind of played out over the years, from from the Muslims and stuff like that. You know, and I would actually argue that those at the very, very, very high up top know all of this, and they fear stuff like this coming out because it would then call into question everything else about their faith. And if that was the case, you could then argue to the Muslim man that his faith is false and that it is built upon a lie. And as Jesus said, this is as if a man was to build his faith upon the sands and not upon a rock. Jesus is the rock. Muhammad is the sands. Like, funny enough, that's probably the best you could probably get with that too. Yo, appreciate you there, Trika. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Appreciate you, fam. Appreciate you also still being in here, Fox. Thank you for that, brother. Definitely appreciate you all being in here, guys. Truly, truly. So again,
Look what's going
these
on
are the 10 supposition morals accusations. I can't say that word very well. 10 accusations that Raymond does, though.
Look at all the problems. It's all between Sunnis and Shiites. How can you explain that if Muhammad didn't exist? Number 4, there are no incontrovertible proofs of Muhammad's non-existence. Ooh, that's a real whammy. I can see someone laughing already because you can see that's actually it's a contradicting term. Since the traditions, that's the Islamic traditions about Muhammad, are so embarrassing, why would they write them?
Yeah, exactly.
He's such an embarrassment, Mr.
Dude,
Smith.
he is an embarrassment.
Number 6.
Muhammad himself is an embarrassment to Islam. Like, I want that to sink in really hard for some of you. Okay? Muhammad is an embarrassment to Islam itself. How can your own fucking prophet be the embarrassment to your own fucking religion? Is Jesus an embarrassment to Christianity? Oh, hell no. He's a badass. So, again, huge thing right there. I need to go wash my hands too real quick. Okay. Not done doing that.
Mecca, you can't use Mecca against Muhammad. It's not an argument you can use Mecca against Muhammad. Number 7, no
I thought he
one
said,
can
yeah,
prove
you
or
can't use
disprove
Mecca against
historical
Muhammad. How the
fact.
fuck can you
Ooh,
not?
that's a whammy. And it comes down to a matter of faith. It doesn't matter what you find, Muslims will always believe it.
The whole it comes down to a matter of faith. Kind of reminds me of the LDS way of doing that. Now I want to do show you guys a debate, maybe tomorrow or something like that. We'll talk about that one. There was a debate against 2 Protestants versus 2 Mormons. One of the things I gotta say, man, that the LDS, these 2 boys in the LDS did really well was that they really do showcase that the Protestants kind of are going on an attack that's not really really justly of them, I would say. It seems very, very, underhanded at times, some of the tactics they kind of use. And the fact that these guys more or less kind of like claim that they don't even agree that, not all the members, like the people that are like the prophet are necessarily, the prophet or technically chosen in those regards like that. And I agree. I think that it's very ignorant to think things like that. I'll also be right back. I use the bathroom. All right. But it is definitely a good debate, and I am curious to see what others might think of it, though, and see what you guys can also tell me from it. On top of like your perceptions of how it's done, how it comes across, and who you think at the end of the day was the winner of it. And honestly, I gotta say, hands down, I have to say the LDS boys kind of handed it to the 2 Protestant boys, and I think they did a better job of articulating their argument better than the argument of the 2 Protestant boys.
The claims against Muhammad's existence are merely an academic and subjective exercise. That's all it is. Just because you don't like Muslims, is what he said. Boy, I wonder where he got that from. And then number 10, the best polemic is not the historical.
Yeah, he says he doesn't like Muslims. Like, no. It's not that I don't like Muslims because I don't like Islam. And exactly, I hate Islam.
Confront his character. Confront his morality. That's the best polemic. That's what we call the internal polemic. So, tonight, what I'm going to do, let's go through each one of these 10 to see if Ibrahim or Raymond, actually I should call him Raymond. I'm going to call him Raymond from here on out because I have 2.
So those are the 10 that he has.
Ibrahim. One is Ayman.
This is the 3 ideas too.
One man named Muhammad and one place called
The book,
Mecca.
the man, the place.
Since these 3 areas are foundational to Islam, we should investigate them at the time they all existed. That means in the early 7th century, and in the place they existed. That means the central western part of Arabia, known as the Hijaz, where Mecca and Medina are located.
Exactly. So that's where it has to come from. It has to come from these things. And it says, notice if you confront and destroy one of these 2 legs, the other 2 fall as well. And again, that's what I mean. He's not wrong. Now, I want you to look at this timeline, right? So, this is supposedly the timeline of his kids. He's supposedly, the first Quran is revealed in 610. It's apparently not, finished until Umar or Utham or something like that. One of the other sons. Muhammad dies, though, apparently at 632. All these things like that. There's just so fucking many crazy claims that show you that these timelines do not work. And that this man could not have existed at this time as well. Yeah, Muhammad was revealed 84 years after the Abbasids created him, 141 years after he was first introduced, yet 201 years after he supposedly lived. Raymond, however, considers this 200 years gap a perfectly acceptable, and thus not a problem. And it's like, no. If you have a 200-year gap between where the dude is supposed to have lived and all this other stuff like that, and then when these people created him, that means that the dude did not exist. Muhammad did not exist. Mecca does not exist. Therefore, Islam does not exist. Okay? It is a fake, false religion that legitimately you have brainwashed, has been used to brainwash so many people on this earth to this day. And most of the people that are brainwashed and indoctrinated into it are fearful of leaving only because they may be killed or they may even lose their entire families. Now, that is the one thing I will say for any ex-Muslim out there, right? They are probably the strongest out of any person out there because they are legitimately not only cut off from their families, and in most cases, they are also sought after and hunted down by their families because then they have brought dishonor upon the rest of that family, right? So something I was talking about earlier about those mercenary camps, right? Is that if you kill anybody over in Israel, and I was trying to say this before that other lady came in. I forgot about this. Actually, I just remembered that I was on this topic before that other customer came in earlier. If you were to go to these camps, which will show about where Tommy was talking about, and you were to look at this, and they tell you that if you go over and kill anybody in Israel, that you'll get money for your family, da 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 da. And he goes, "You mean a Jew, right?" And they're like, "No, because even the Muslims that live in Israel, to them are haram, because to them they're sellouts. They're living under their devil's oppression." And everything like that. So they've sold themselves to the Jewish devil and that they deserve to be killed just like the rest. And so if they do it, they'll get money for it. And then there's murals of these people painted all over this camp. Again, that is the type of shit that these fucking evil, demonic, fucking disgusting beings over there are doing, okay? Again, if you don't think that Islam is a horror, like when they're like, oh, Islam is a religion of peace. No, it's not. It is the war religion. It is the religion of absolute world domination. That's what it wants, and it's what it wants to do to every one of us. And any of us that are, non-Muslim and all that other stuff like that, they want to, use you as fucking slaves, sex slaves, and other things like that, and just do horrendous shit to you. And again, it's like, this is why I am constantly trying to, do these, videos and do these things about that, talking about how Islam is fake and how we can protect ourselves against the Islamic extremists and things like that too, and to debate, good Muslims to then convert them to become good Christians.
How many of you agree with Raymond? You should raise your hand. You just did. Come on, Abdul, get your hand up there. He's suddenly getting a chicken foot because he knows that he's going to be put on the hot seat. Don't get chicken foot on me, please. Stay there. I want you to be a good.
He is making one of the guys as a joke. His name is, he makes the name of Abdul, and then tells him later on in the thing too that he'll buy him a beer and dinner too. I thought that was cool.
Sitting here says happens in those two cities that you see right there that are circled.
So if you were to actually look on there and stuff like that, you can see that that's actually very far inland than it actually really appears. It looks like it's like, oh, it's right on the coast. No, it's not. Mecca would be really far inland, especially Medina is really far inland. There are no real cities right in these areas, right? They're not supposed to be cities, other than you got these ones over here and things like that people will talk about. But there wouldn't have been in ancient times things like this over here because of how long it would have taken to get to the sea and so forth. The way he explains it is much better than I can. But ideally, there wouldn't be cities there though, because there's not enough water in that area and stuff like that. This is though where it gets really important though, right? So they, this is where you get the actual like mistaken name of Muhammad, right? Fucking flies. It's actually the name of Mahmud, right? And it's the title for the anointed one, the blessed one, things like that. This would be Jesus's title, okay? An Aryan priest most takes this title back in an early time and thus becomes the Muhammad that they talk about. And thus, this is the priest that they end up writing about a bunch of his teachings and so forth, so on, and all these other things like that. And this comes from the time of the Moloch. And this is literally one of the things, too, if you read the John of Damascus book, it's like the heresies of the Ishmaelites. And it's because they are legitimately trying to create, in their opinion, their own version of a prophetic line that will give them the right to rule the area that they do, to then become, God's chosen people, because, they were the bastard sons of Abraham. Okay. again, I don't agree with how Sarah ends up doing all that shit and abuses Hagar, and then Abraham's like, well, she's your servant, so again, this is why I do tell people all the time that Jesus came here to fulfill a lot of those laws and to tell you that this stuff is not okay. This is how it should be done now, right? But at the end of the day, too, when you look at those writings and stuff, you can see that these writings depict a truly, what would be like a really human person, right? You don't, they're not making, Abraham this saint, they don't make David a saint, you know what I mean? They paint him as a human being. David is holy and as good of a person as he is, does he fucking take Bathsheba and everything like that to be his wife? But the whole the whole thing that he does with killing his best friend, but then he also is told that to wipe all the Amalekites out, and instead he chooses to leave Saul alive, and that's ultimately why he loses his his right to reign and everything like that. And you're gonna go, well, wouldn't though the your book that's about this guy being such a great person not write about all the bad things that he does? It's like, exactly. It shows to you that these people are very much human, and they are subject to failure and faults and flaws just as much as the rest of us. The only person in that entire book that isn't is Jesus, and that is because Jesus was so perfect. Again, we can only hope to live to even an ounce of that. All right, and I would say Charlie was doing it the best out of anybody else. And he would tell you, like, one of my favorite things was that Bill Maher interview that he did a while back. Because literally one of the things that they, were talking about was that, he had, at one point been a person who liked to drink and things like that, but he's like, he realized that's not what he was, that's not what he was meant to do, that he needed to live a better life. And, and even though, while, he doesn't agree necessarily with a lot of the things that, like Bill and I might agree with, he at the end of the day goes, I don't think though that I should be the person that tells you what you can and cannot do with your life. And at the end of the day, like, you should be able to live as an adult and a human being and a free person of America, with obviously within the confines of these laws and rules. And at the end of the day, that's always something that I have always believed in. And I truly am happy to know that that's something that, that I share that mentality also with with Charlie. Again, I really don't care if you're, as long as you're not harming anybody, harming yourself, things like that. I do really want everybody to just live a really beautiful and happy life, truly. So then let's go ahead and go forward now a little bit more. This timeline here. So these are the actual people who pretty much kind of actually build up the Siras, all this, like the history of like Muhammad, the actual teachings, all these things like that. And a lot of it's all done by German, actual like philosophers and stuff like that, and theologians. And so it's like, okay, well, why the hell is it this and not the Arabs then? Well, because again, they wasn't a real thing.
They were all.
And so let's see here. When we go, I want to get to the most important part of it, which it's funny that it says this is the most played here. So I guess, yeah, the conclusions would be a good spot. So let's go to this conclusions area here.
Towns and cities, no cities, no history. Look at any geographical map, look at any topographical map, and look and see what you notice. Every one of those maps shows that Mecca is in the middle of a desert. Where there's a desert, there's no water. No water, no food, no people, no towns, no cities, no history, no civilization. Do you see a problem, folks? You need water.
This is what I was trying to get at, okay? So this is what I was trying to point out with that zoomed in part of it that I was trying to show you guys.
I love the Zamzam well. The Zamzam well, right there next to the Kaaba, 30 feet away. There it is. See a picture of the Zamzam well? It's 30 feet across and 50 feet deep. And this is inexhaustible water that the Lord has given, that Allah has given to the Muslim so that they can drink from this well. If you go to any Muslim bookshop here in Central or Southern California, you'll see Zamzam water there. Liters and liters and liters of it. 4 million people go to the Hajj. 2 million go to the Hajj. 2 million people are already there. 4 million people in Mecca drink the Zamzam water. How can they, that many people, how can almost 2 billion people drink water from the Zamzam well, and it's only 30 feet across and 50 feet deep? Muslims say this is the miracle of Allah, inexhaustible water. So I decided to do some research on this. I went back and looked, and I just Googled it. You can Google it. And what happened in 1953, they capped the well and they put it underground. And then you had pipes going into the well, and then pipes coming out of the well. Just follow the pipes, folks. Those pipes go up to a mountain about 2 or 3 miles away, and there's these enormous holding tanks, the world's largest tanks, for where all this water comes from that goes and fills the well and then comes back out again. So where does the water come for those tanks? Just follow the pipes, and they go down, 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 down to Jeddah. And they go down to these desalination plants, 27 desalination plants, which take the salt water, put it into fresh water, send it up to those tanks, put it down into the well, put some perfume into it and some sweetening, and then they send it to the whole world. And boy, the Saudi Arabian government is making all the profit in the world. But it has nothing
Literally,
to do
off
with
of
Allah.
water, they're making that profit.
Those solid desalination plants. Bechtel
Yeah.
Corporation, Kansas.
Did Allah come down and build those salination? Those salination plants have been there since the time of Muhammad. Like, that's literally what they would want you to believe at this point, because, like, none of that makes fucking sense. Like, do we understand what he's getting at here, right? That's not the case. Like, the well isn't infinite. It's not, a proof of this miracle. It's coming from another water source, you fucking idiots. Like, oh, man, dude, these people believe such crazy lies, man.
Give ourselves a hand, folks. Everything the Muslims are dependent on comes from us. Because
Yeah, I love that too. Yeah, literally, all that stuff was built in Kentucky. We built it for them. Like, come on, man. And then, again, this is that that claim for them to be like, oh well, yeah, but this is the claim of Allah's miracle, and for the Muslims, it's like, no, this is a claim that you're a fucking idiot and you believe a bedtime fairy tale, when reality shows you that the pipes from fucking a different water source is how the hell you're all getting your water still.
Into this, but I will go into this. What's fascinating, Dan Gibson, a good friend of mine, decided to find where all the Qiblas were facing, and he saw that none of the Qiblas were facing Mecca, not until 750.
So, again, another big thing.
All the Qiblas were facing Petra and Jerusalem.
Petra and Jerusalem.
To the 5 major things that they do in Mecca. Take a look when they circumambulate 7 times going counterclockwise around this Kaaba, which means cube. It's the same word in Hebrew. That's where the Holy of Holies was, in Jerusalem. They're just of Arabic. Now we have our Arabic experts down here, and they helped us with Muhammad. But I didn't teach any Arabic to you tonight. Did you notice that? You don't have to learn Arabic. It is foundational to everything Muslims believe. It features one book by one man in one place, yet without any of these 3, Islam falls to pieces.
Exactly.
We have the evidence. So it's the Muslims who now have to argue from silence, not us. It is historically neutral and therefore not Islamophobic or hate speech. Thus, everyone can use it. But I would rather we use this as Christians. Why? For one very good, not 2 reasons. Because we are the only ones that have gone through this process with Jesus Christ. We are the only ones that have proved that he existed.
So I got today's soda for that, but that's what I've been doing right here.
We are the only ones that have used historical criticism, and we've come out the other end.
That's where the water dipping would. Our water thing is not good. I would not drink the water from here. So as you guys can see, there's a big part of that goes on here. Now, I really do want to get into some of this video here. Before we get into the Tommy Robinson one, I do want to get into that and this one before we wrap up, before going home tonight, chat. So what I want to do is I really do want to go ahead and start off with this guy here. Let's go ahead and, like I said, I do want you guys to go and give Sahar a actual sub. So please, 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 if you guys can do so for me, be sure to go and subscribe, watch the videos, and everything like that on these guys' actual channels that I've been linking. They deserve all the credit in the world, for they actually came up with these videos. I am just doing the extra hand of promoting them out there and getting them out there more to you guys. so that way you can check them all out as well. But please definitely go drop a subscription over to Sahar, especially because we have 2 videos from Sahar right here, Sahar TV. Both the ex-Muslim just exposed the entire Islamic history to the world. This was a 1-month-old video. And then 5 days ago in the United Kingdom, this is the video he did with the interview with Tommy Robinson. So absolutely a banger of an interview that he did with the guy. And then this is the PSA announcement that Benny Johnson did with the declared national emergency about the whole anti-ICE shooting and everything like that that had just happened. And that one is literally from 26. So just yesterday. This one was just from yesterday, guys. So but let's get into it.
To support me and the channel financially, you can do that using Buy Me Coffee.
Also, by the way, Fox, he also does the whole Buy Me Coffee thing too. Actually, that was funny.
Okay, to the people who don't know, I was introduced to this person right here, right in front of you guys, about.
Make sure we get the captions on this here as well.
I saw him on Instagram, and the way I saw him is by correcting Islamic reels on Instagram. I saw this reel, and then his face popped up, and he said, "Oh no, this definitely doesn't say this." And then he gives you the verses. He's amazing, and of course, he converted from Islam to Christianity. And Ismail,
yeah, and I want you guys to also hear a little bit of his backstory before we kind of jump around this video a little bit. The main video we're going to be doing is going to be the Tommy Robinson one, and then we'll be doing the Left Wing video chat.
America, and sometimes I'll do some stuff in Europe, but basically a lot of what I do, and I'm kind of surprised by how viral it's gone, is I just always see these like reels of Muslims saying like Abraham built the Kaaba, or it's just something just like ridiculous claims like Muhammad split the moon in half. And
oh, by the way, for those who don't know what the Kaaba is the black box that they do the 7 circles around it, like they do. I do believe it's supposed to be a representation of Jericho and stuff like that. So that's why they do that. But the Muslims will always constantly tell you that, oh, Abraham built the Kaaba. No, he did not. You know, or the whole splitting the moon in half, and a quick Google search tells you that no, Muhammad clearly didn't fucking split the moon in half.
It's like, this is a quick Google search. It doesn't take that much effort to really disprove these claims, but no one is really doing it. Like, there's a few people here and there, but a lot of them don't actually even speak Arabic. Some Muslims will just be like, oh, because they don't speak Arabic, doesn't matter what they say.
And that's a dirty way of doing the debates too. Well, you don't speak Arabic, so you don't even understand it.
I just quoted to them in the Arabic.
Right. If you really need to know Arabic to understand, you're full of shit.
Do you think the reason why in the Muslim world people don't get to fact check a lot of the things that you just mentioned is because people try to keep research, like the Muslim scholars try to keep research away from the picture, and they try to, maintain it with just believe in it, everything is happening. Like,
and that's something else too, yeah. But he just said the Muslim scholars and stuff like that do try to keep you away from actually digging into it. And like he says, it's because of the internet now that it's much more accessible. That's a lot of the reasons why it's funny how like the Islamic faith hasn't really adapted to that part of it yet as much as like the LDS people have. And I feel like they've done a better job of assimilating with that than the Islamic people have.
The nature of the religion itself. So the nature of the religion itself isn't based on a concept of that telling the truth or being honest is always the moral good. The moral good in Islam is to forward Islam. And so you can, in theory, be dishonest in order to forward Islam. And that's a whole other topic called taqiyya.
And right there, that's as I was talking about earlier, with the whole, telling a Jew that, oh, you should actually be a Muslim, and then exposing the lie. Right here.
Make up stuff and say, oh yeah, didn't you not know that like Muhammad was in the Torah and that you should be Jewish?
That Muhammad was in the Torah, so you should be Jewish, or you should be Muslim.
Judaism. And the real
it's like, dude, this is so fucking stupid. This is so underhanded and so dirty of a tactic.
Make you become a Muslim, and then once you become a Muslim, I can tell you the truth as to what I was doing. So this is not a concept that we have in.
And we don't have to do that. Jews don't have to do that.
Christian or Jewish
fucking Hindus don't even do shit like that.
Do this where we just like we kind of say this is what the thing is.
Like everybody else is just truthful about what they believe in their faith. And Muslims are the only ones that are like, let me find a way to make sure that I just expand the faith as big as possible, no matter what. The ends justify the means.
They don't
No, they don't.
understand that it is actually okay to lie in Islam.
Why do you think there's that will to promote Islam, to, for Islam to dominate other regions, first of all, in Islam you don't even believe in the concept of a state, right? You don't believe in states or countries. You believe that Islam should cross all borders and that there should be a khalifa. Can you tell me more about this? Why is this the intention of Islam? And also, once Islam actually does this, what do you think is the consequence for people living under the wing of Islam?
So for Muslims, mainstream Muslims, like I'd say 85-90% of Muslims believe that there should be one caliph who rules over the Muslim world. And basically that
most of everything you guys need to know is going to be right in the beginning of this video, really. Honestly, he does a great job of just condensing all of this right here in the start of this video, chat.
They have to all follow this one caliph. And he's the individual that basically tells you what's moral, what's immoral, almost like a pope figure. The difference is, at least in modern times, the pope figure isn't also like the president who also is a dictator.
Exactly, yeah. The Catholic pope isn't also like the Catholic president.
He's also a dictator. He's able to basically, unless he goes against Islamic teaching, he's basically allowed to do whatever he wants.
Or like a president of Italy or Rome, you know what I mean?
The goal is because this is what Muhammad wanted to happen. He said there would be a caliph afterwards, and obviously Muslims disagree who it is. That's why there's Sunnis and Shias and all other different sects. But all the
and that's where the different sects come from. Is the actual who's supposed to rule the caliph? That's where you get these different disagreements in the Muslim faith, really, from chat. So
ISIS and all that stuff, but really the caliph ended in the 1920s with the Ottoman Empire. That was the last major caliphate.
Exactly. Yeah, the Ottoman Empire was the last great major caliph.
Especially Muslims who live in non-Muslim countries, they are eager to bring back this caliphate, and that's why we see back in 2014 and 2016. Why were Muslim individuals who lived in Australia, like the United States, France, traveling to Syria to fight? It's because it is part of their religion to establish the caliphate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they saw it. They were like, I remember vividly here in Canada at a mosque when ISIS was happening. And
I know there's so many most replayed things on this thing here.
We can't really trust the news because we don't really know what's going on in Syria. Are they really?
Yeah, so
we don't know. We don't know. Maybe they're lying.
They documented the whole thing.
Right? They made it up. There was a little documentary they made. And
we're getting an encoding overload all of a sudden.
My dad, who's like a religious Muslim, he's like, okay, yeah, we're not coming back to this mosque. This is weird. It's like, we're out. And it's just, they are able to justify horrific things in order to forward the cause. And
I can't even change a preset, so I don't even know what else I would need to do.
I was 16 years old when I left because
to adjust all that.
And this might shock Muslims, but my morality at the age of 16 was somehow better than the Islamic morality.
Okay, pause that. Let's close that one out. I'll close that out.
Because I didn't believe.
As soon as I start the video, oh, maybe it's because I got the video in 4K.
I couldn't see how having multiple wives could ever be fair, or how can there be slavery, because slavery is a part of Islam, and it's not the type of slavery that you might find in other religions where it's been reformed. It's we're talking about
yeah, okay, now I'm not seeing that encoding overload happen on the bottom now constantly. It was literally just popping up, and I didn't even think about it. I guess because since I watch my MacBook all the time on 4K movies and YouTube and stuff like that, I wasn't even thinking about it with streaming wise. I don't have this set to capture at 4K or do anything like that, so it's trying to literally capture in 4K video of the interview, so it was having a hard time registering that, I guess. So I just dropped the video down to 1080p, and we seem to be going okay with that now. So I guess there was a lot of data influx going through there. So
there are winners and there are losers. The winners are those who obey Allah, they do charity, they fight jihad. The losers are those who are us, basically. We're not Muslim, and if the Muslims don't get us now, then God's going to get us at the end of days. That's basically how it is. And it's almost like someone had a stream of consciousness and started writing it down, and then the hell aspect of it was so
checking my
every chapter
notifications
a couple
there.
weeks ago, I did a ChatGPT thing. I was like, how many times is hell mentioned in the Quran? And I think there's 114 chapters, and it's almost like more than 300 times. So it's almost every chapter it's mentioned at least twice a threat of hell. So it's in order to, it's a fear tactic to keep you in line. Well, heaven's mentioned like, I don't know, like
Exactly.
100
Exactly.
times.
How,
So
see again
it's very,
how this
like,
is the
it's
case
very much based
versus
on
what they
you
were trying to tell
staying in
you
line,
the other
following
way
the
around,
religion,
right? So
and
this
if
is
you
what I mean.
follow it,
This is what I mean,
you'll
Chad.
have this paradise where
Like
you
they'd
get
be
the
the ones to be like,
faith
no,
in
no,
your
no, no.
Bible,
But Christians
and
are the
then
ones that
if
use the
you
religion
don't
of,
follow it, you
the fear
burn
of the religion
flowing
to
water,
join the
and that
religion. So like that, we do not tell you
it
constantly if
doesn't
you don't
end. So
join,
it sounds
you're gonna go
very
to hell. There are
human
people that
from
do
all
that,
of it.
sure, yeah, and
And
I think
these
they're
all
wrong
these
for
things
doing that.
kept coming up
I think that you
when I was
should,
researching it when I was like
join
a teenager,
whether or not
and I
if
just couldn't
you
believe
feel
it
you're,
anymore
it's right for
because of
you.
that. I just couldn't
Like
believe
truly, I think
that
that's the
this
biggest
is a
thing.
moral individual I can follow, and I just had to leave it. And it was one of the hardest, but also one of the easiest things, because it was hard because I knew the repercussions, but it was easy because I knew it wasn't true anymore. So it was like I couldn't lie to myself. I couldn't. I mean, people asked me that before. Like, why didn't you just like remain a Muslim and just secretly not believe it and just be like just like a regular Muslim who doesn't care about all this stuff? And I was like, yeah, but like I have one life on this earth. I don't want to live a lie my whole life. Like I want to be on my deathbed and be like, at least I did something. At least I like was able to stand up to this ideology that's crippling the world. And I would say this to anyone that Islam
Literally, and
is
he even
crippling the
says
world.
this ideology is crippling the world. Like
First of
for
all,
him
I'm
to
interested
say
to
that
know
is
about your
that is
childhood.
major, major to
growing
hear
up,
that from somebody like that,
you-
chat.
You said that at 16 you decided, but did your idea of Islam started crumbling before the age of was it a gradual thing, or what was it exactly? And also, I am interested to know about your childhood and what was it like growing up as a Muslim in Egypt, you said, right?
Yeah, most of my childhood I was in Egypt.
How's your English so well?
Well, my mom's Canadian, so my dad.
Damn,
my dad
sorry about that, chat. That was loud. I was trying to go for a fucking fly.
I spoke both languages, like just.
I was literally trying to kill me a fly in
just
here.
talking
I almost
about
had
it,
him too.
But
Almost had a
I'll
little
go from the
fucking.
beginning. So I was born in Canada, and then age of 5, we moved back to Egypt because my dad wanted me
Is everybody
to
awake?
learn Arabic, learn the Quran.
Now
and
wake up,
I
everybody.
went to an American school there in Egypt, and all the teachers were like American, and then all the students were like.
Oh, and now we're getting an
Eastern.
encoding overload all of a
And
sudden again.
even
Now,
in
what the fuck?
Secular.
I can't change any presets either, so I don't get what OBS wants me to do further.
Got
in 720p.
School, there was still a huge divide between the teachers and like the students. A good example.
And now we got another one again. Okay. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna wrap it up here. What I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to do this from the house when I get home tonight. I'm gonna try to go live from the laptop with the landline if it fucking lets me, so that I can try to finish this portion of the video because I wanted to do that, so that way we could go over this part of it. But it's literally not letting me without constantly giving me an encoding overload. And I have lowered it down to 720p at this point, and there's nothing else I can do. Like for those wondering, there is no presets when it comes to the MacBook. All right. Super fucking gay and annoying. Oh, let's see here. Hold on. I think it's actually right. It's in this. Okay. So, you go to settings, go to output. There are no presets. Even if I do advanced for this, there are no presets for this. So, God, I fucking hate that. Welcome there, Noogles. Dude, seriously, I fucking hate Harley riders. Like, such fucking faggots about that shit. I hate anybody who does that. It's so fucking annoying. Like, literally, like, why? Why do you gotta sit there and drive a Harley and literally just do the whole blah, 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 all over the place? Like, in the absolute fucking truest sense of the South Park episode, I truly mean it like that. Like... Give me 1 second here. I'm gonna find one thing. 1 second.
We are really trying to understand this. How is it that you...
This right here, 100% how I feel about this shit. Every fucking time I have to deal with anybody that rides
really
motorcycles.
trying to understand this. How is it that you boys think referring to gay people as fags in today's world is acceptable?
Because we're not referring to gay people. You
Exactly.
can be gay and not be a fag. Yeah, a lot of fags aren't gay.
Exactly.
I happen to be gay, boys. Do you think I'm a fag?
Do you ride a Harley?
Big loud Harley and go up and down the streets ruining everyone's nice time?
No.
Then you're
Then
not.
you're not a fag.
Exactly.
So
You see what I mean here, chat? You see what I mean here? How is this so hard to fucking get through people's fucking heads? I don't understand this.
if a guy is gay and rides a Harley?
Then he's a gay fag. I mean,
Exactly.
Is it really this hard? I don't know.
Like, literally, how is this so hard to understand? And who rides one of those? You're absolutely one of them. Okay? Just saying. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. We are going to try to get to this last part later on. Where I'm trying to go over this portion of the video so we can try to do this without the encoding overload bullshit that OBS is trying to give me while going over this, ironically enough. So, when I get home, I will try to go over this, and we'll see you guys back here later on tonight. I do appreciate everybody for coming through here and hanging out with us and checking out the part of the video so far. Again, we will be back later on to wrap up the rest of the content when we get home. So I appreciate everybody for stopping through here so far and for vibing out, hanging out with us, for the subs, the donations, all the likes, the comments, everything like that you guys have dropped through here today.